This is a slip knot, and you will not believe the mileage you'll get out of this knot. We're going to look at 8 different knots or techniques that emerge from this incredibly simple knot. But first, here's how to tie it. Create a loop by twisting the rope. Then take a bight from beside the loop and feed it into the loop. Tighten it up and you've made a slip knot. It comes undone or slips when you pull on it from both ends. If you feed the bight into the wrong side of the loop, no knot will form and it'll just kind of fall apart, so it should be obvious which side of the loop you need to feed it into. Our first application of this knot is the basis for tying a Marlinspike hitch, a knot that lets you quickly attach a rod to your rope to form a handle. Start by making a slip knot like we just showed. Then feed a stick or a tent stake into the slip knot loop and tighten up the knot. It's important to form the slip knot with the bight on the correct side relative to the direction you intend to pull for a more stable Marlinspike hitch. If you imagine an arrow representing the force from you pulling on the Marlinspike, the bight should be taken from the side where that arrow begins. In other words, the bight should come from the pulling direction into the loop. Now this handle gives us extra purchase for pulling on the line. For instance, when we want to make some other knot really tight, or when we want to connect a toggle to a line to hang something with a loop like a backpack. It can also be used to make a ladder from a collection of rungs. For this demonstration, I'm using rebar, but you could just as easily use pieces of wood that you cut to size. At the middle of your rope, fold it into 2 sections which will become the sides of our ladder. Starting at the top of the ladder, create a slip knot on one side. Always take the bight from the top side of the ladder when creating these slip knots. Feed the first rung into it and tighten it down. Then do the same on the other side of the ladder. Again, always taking the bight from the top when making the slip knot. Feed in the other side of the rung and secure it. Now we just need to do this same process repeatedly for the next rungs. To keep each rung horizontal and level, always try to make these 2 lengths as close to equal as possible as you add the new rungs. And just keep this process going with as many rungs as you want. You can hang it from a strong branch or another sturdy object when it's finished, and that's the Marlinspike hitch ladder. The slip knot can be used to tie a bowline knot in record time, giving you a fixed size loop in the end of a line. It starts with, you guessed it, a slip knot. The bight should come from the standing end side for this to work. That is, from the side opposite of where your bowline loop will be. If you leave the slip knot slightly loose, it'll be easier to form the knot in the next step. Now grab the working end and feed it into that slip knot loop until this section is around the size you want for your final bowline loop. Now pull on the standing end and this part of the loop and the bowline will snap into place. You may or may not have to dress the knot to tidy it up a bit. With a little practice, you can tie this around your body using only one hand. I should also mention that the side of the slip knot loop that you insert the working end into will give you 2 slightly different knots. If you go this way, you'll end up with a traditional bowline with the tag end inside the loop. And if you go this way, you'll end up with the equally valid left-hand bowline, also known as the cowboy bowline, which has the tag end on the outside of the loop. Similarly, you can join 2 ropes with this same method to create a sheet bend knot. You may or may not have known that the sheet bend has the same structure as a bowline knot, just formed using 2 ropes instead of making a loop in a single rope. So to make a snap sheet bend, create a slip knot in one rope, feed the other rope through the slip knot loop, and snap it into place just as we did with the bowline. Note that the tag ends are on the same side of the knot, meaning this is a regular right-hand sheet bend. If one of the ropes has a larger diameter than the other, you should create the slip knot in the smaller of the 2 ropes. Depending on how much thicker the larger rope is, you might need to help it along by bending it into place as you tighten the slip knot. Otherwise, you can end up just tying a Marlinspike hitch around the thicker rope, which is not what you want. The larger rope should take on this U shape, again with the tag ends on the same side, forming a sheet bend. Another great use of the slip knot is the pulley loop in a trucker's hitch. The trucker's hitch is a super useful knot that lets you bring a line under high tension by using a crude pulley to create mechanical advantage, and the slip knot can be used to form that pulley loop. Wrap the line around the object you're tying to. Then make a slip knot on the standing end. Make sure the bite is taken from the side closest to the object. If you take the bite from the wrong side, the loop will shrink and cinch down on the line as you tighten the knot, which you don't want to happen. Once you've made the slip knot loop, bring the working end of your rope through the loop and pull it tight. Pinch the loop to retain the tension and tie it off by making an overhand knot with a bite up against the loop for a quick release. There are many fancy modifications you can do to improve the trucker's hitch, and I have a separate video covering those. A stopper knot is used anytime you want to stop the line from running through some object. The slip knot makes a great temporary stopper knot. Maybe you want to recover your rope quickly after you're done with the stopper, or you might need to make repeated adjustments to the stopper knot's position. To use the slip knot in this way, create it with the bite on the side of the loop away from the object the rope is running through. If you make the bite on the wrong side, the knot will just slip through the hole when tension is applied. When tied correctly, the knot will stay in place under tension, and we can quickly untie it by just pulling on the tag end. You can also make a larger and more stable stopper knot known as Ashley's stopper knot, or the Oysterman stopper knot. Make a slip knot, then feed the tail end back through the slip knot loop in this direction. Tighten down the tail, then tighten down the slip knot loop, and you'll get a nice looking, bulky stopper knot with this distinctive 3-lobe pattern. The slip knot can be used to make one of the simplest forms of a snare trap. Tighten up a slip knot, then attach the side that the bite came from to a fixed object like a fence or a tree, and the loop will cinch down on whatever is caught within it. If you secure the wrong side of the knot, the loop will just loosen when something moves around within it. So you need to secure the same side that the bite came from. Check your local laws and regulations before attempting any trapping. The slip knot is also used in knitting and crocheting to attach yarn to the knitting needle or crochet hook, or in this case, a chopstick, to begin the knitting process. Make a slip knot, slide it over the needle and cinch it down, and you're ready to start knitting. Of course, the actual knitting process involves more steps after this, but this will get you started and maybe inspire you to look into it more. Those are 8 different knots or applications derived directly from the humble slip knot. Let me know in the comments any other applications I forgot about. If you're convinced it's a knot worth learning, give that like button a little click and subscribe to the Totline channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching.